You think Peloton makes money selling exercise bikes. The gleaming machine with the big touchscreen. The one that cost well over $1,000 and arrived on a truck with 2 delivery people in matching shirts. It feels like the whole product. You buy the bike, you ride the bike, Peloton gets paid for the bike. Except that's not where the money is. Peloton barely keeps anything when it sells you the hardware. The real business is the $44 that leaves your account every single month, long after the bike has stopped feeling new, long after the novelty is gone, and whether you ride it or not. Here's how it looks from the outside. Peloton sells beautiful, expensive equipment. The bike, the higher-end bike plus, the treadmill. The original bike launched at around $2,000. Premium hardware, premium prices. So the obvious story writes itself. Design a gorgeous machine, charge a small fortune for it, sell a few million of them, and you've built a giant. And for one strange moment, that story even looked true. During the pandemic, when gyms shut and everyone was stuck at home, Peloton's revenue roughly doubled to about $4 billion in fiscal 2021. The bikes had waitlists months long. The stock soared. It looked like the clearest case in the world of a company getting rich, selling a physical product people suddenly couldn't live without. But here's the thing that should stop you. Even at the peak, even with bikes flying out the door, the company kept losing money. And as the boom faded, the losses got worse before they got better. If selling the bike were really the business, that boom should have been the most profitable stretch in the company's history. Instead, it was one of the most expensive. The volume was never the problem. What the volume was made of, that was the problem. So look at what selling the bike actually earns. In fiscal 2024, the connected fitness segment, the hardware, the bikes and treads, brought in just under $1 billion, about $990 million, nearly $1 billion of machines. And the gross margin on all of it was about 5% for the year. 5%. And that was the good year. The year before, the hardware margin was negative. The company actually lost money on every machine once you counted returns, warranties, and the cost of shipping something that heavy to your door. Sit with that. Peloton can hand you a bike for over $1,000 and keep almost none of it, and not long ago, kept less than none of it. That is simply not how a company behaves if selling the bike is how it makes its money. So either Peloton is terrible at pricing its own flagship product, or the bike was never really the point. So where does the money really come from? The subscription. The $44 a month all-access membership that turns on the screen and unlocks the classes. In fiscal 2024, that subscription business brought in about $1.7 billion, substantially more than the hardware. And the margin on it was about 68%. Now put those two numbers side by side, because this is the whole story in one comparison. The hardware nearly $1 billion of revenue, at roughly 5% margin. The subscription $1.7 billion, at 68% margin. The bike barely keeps a nickel on the dollar. The software keeps almost 70 cents on the dollar. One of these is a business. The other is bait, and the subscription doesn't just earn more, it recurs. The bike is one payment once. The subscription comes back the next month, and the month after that, at almost no extra cost to deliver. Because the classes were already filmed and the studio is already paid for. Run the arithmetic on that 68% margin. $1.7 billion of subscription revenue throws off well over $1 billion of gross profit in a single year. More than $1 billion of gross profit from software, streamed to people who already own the machine. The recurring business is genuinely healthy. It is the cost of acquiring each new rider, that thin, heavy, expensive machine, that drags the whole company into the red. In fiscal 2024, Peloton still posted a net loss of about $552 million, even while the subscription engine was minting more than $1 billion in gross profit. The subscription is the prize. The bike is the expensive coupon you pay Peloton to take home. Look at how the company describes its own turnaround, and the point gets even sharper. When Peloton talks about getting healthier, it doesn't talk about selling more bikes. It talks about its overall gross margin climbing from about 33% to about 45% in a single year. And what drove that jump? Almost entirely the hardware, clawing its way from a negative margin up to a small positive one. In other words, the celebrated improvement wasn't the hardware suddenly becoming a great business. It was the hardware stopping the bleeding, so that the wonderful subscription margin underneath could finally show through. The whole financial recovery was about making the bike hurt less, so the membership could carry the company. That tells you everything about which half is the engine, and which half is the cost of running it. And notice what happened to revenue overall. Total revenue actually fell in fiscal 2024 to about $2.7 billion, because the hardware line shrank by double digits as the pandemic surge wore off. But subscription revenue rose. So the company sold fewer machines and made a better business. That only makes sense if the machine was never the source of value. Fewer bikes, more profit per dollar, a bigger share of the company coming from the recurring stream. The shape of Peloton kept tilting year after year toward the thing that was actually paying the bills. So why on earth would a company sell a $1,000 machine at almost no profit or even at a loss? Because of what that machine does after the sale. Think about where it ends up. It's heavy. It lives in your bedroom or your garage. It took 2 people to carry it in, and it only does one thing: it streams Peloton classes. Once that machine is in your home, the cost of leaving, physically, financially, emotionally, is enormous. Canceling doesn't just mean clicking a button. It means admitting that the expensive thing in the corner was a mistake. And that is exactly the point. You can see it in one number Peloton reports every quarter: churn. In the fourth quarter of fiscal 2024, the average net monthly connected fitness churn was about 1.9%. Turn that around. Roughly 98 out of every 100 members keep paying, month after month. That is a retention rate most subscription businesses can only dream about, and Peloton gets it because the product is bolted, almost literally, into the customer's home. The expensive bike isn't the product. It's the anchor that holds the subscriber in place. Now do the lifetime math, because this is where the model turns. $44 a month is more than $500 a year. Keep a member for 3, 4, 5 years, which a 2% monthly churn rate makes entirely normal, and the subscription revenue from one customer climbs well past $2,000, almost all of it at that 68% margin. Set that against the bike, which made roughly 5 cents on the dollar once. The lifetime value of the subscription doesn't just beat the profit on the hardware, it buries it. Which means the rational move, the move the numbers demand, is to sell the bike as cheaply as you possibly can, get it into as many homes as possible, and let the recurring subscription do the actual earning. The cheapish bike isn't a pricing failure, it's customer acquisition. It works exactly like a razor sold near cost to lock in years of blade sales, except here the blade is a stream of video, and the razor weighs 100 pounds. And here is the second engine, the one that makes the margin possible. Content. A Peloton class is filmed once, in a studio in New York or London, with one instructor. That same recording is then streamed to all roughly 3 million connected fitness members at once. The cost of serving the millionth viewer of a class is essentially the same as serving the first, which is to say, almost nothing. Compare that to a real gym. A gym has to pay rent in every city, staff every location, and fit only so many bodies into each room. Add one more member to a gym and eventually you need another building. Add one more member to Peloton and you need nothing at all. The class is already recorded, the servers are already running. Peloton films one class and sells it into 3 million living rooms. That is why the subscription margin sits up near 68% while a physical gym fights over thin profits building by building. The software scales, the bricks don't. This is the same trick that lets a streaming service or a software company earn margins a factory could never touch, quietly running underneath what looks, from the outside, like a fitness equipment maker. And the household structure quietly multiplies it. One all-access membership covers everyone under the same roof. So a family of 4 pays the same $44 as a single rider, but they're 4 times as attached to the machine, 4 times as likely to keep it, 4 times as hard to pull away. The revenue per member doesn't change, but the stickiness does. More riders per household means lower churn per dollar, and lower churn is the one number this entire business is built to protect. Then there are the retention mechanics layered on top. The instructors become people you follow. The leaderboard turns a solo workout into a competition. The streak counter makes you not want to break the chain. Milestone badges, live classes, the little high-five animations, none of that is decoration. All of it is engineered to do one job: protect that 1.9% churn number, because every member who stays is another year of high-margin subscription revenue that costs Peloton almost nothing to deliver. And Peloton keeps widening the funnel into the subscription. It introduced rental and financing programs, so you don't have to pay $2,000 up front, lowering the wall that kept people from getting the machine into their home in the first place. It built an app-only membership at about $13 a month, so people who'll never buy the hardware can still become recurring subscribers. Different doors. Every path leads to the same place: a monthly payment, at high margin, from a customer who's hard to lose. And once you have a few million locked-in subscribers, you control a quiet lever most businesses would kill for. You can raise the price. In late 2025, Peloton lifted the all-access membership from $44 a month to just under $50. Look at what that does. Add even $5 a month across roughly 3 million members, and you've added on the order of $150 million a year in revenue. Almost all of it pure profit, because it costs Peloton nothing extra to stream the same class to the same person at a higher price. No new bikes built, no new trucks dispatched, just a number on a recurring invoice, nudged up across a base that's already too invested to walk away. That is the power the subscription gives you that the hardware never could. So here's what Peloton really is. Not a bike company that happens to sell classes, but a subscription company that happens to ship a bike, where the bike mostly exists to get you onto the recurring plan and keep you there. And once you can see that shape, you start spotting it across whole industries. The game console is sold at break, even, or a loss. The money is in the games and the online service that follow. The printer is suspiciously cheap, the ink is where they get you. The phone is a one-time sale, the app store and the cloud storage bill you forever. The coffee machine is the hook, the pods are the business. In every case, the expensive, impressive object handed to you at the counter is the bait, and the real money is somewhere quieter, somewhere recurring, somewhere you already agreed to pay month after month without quite noticing. The thing you thought you were buying was just the doorway. Next time, a company that gave its journalism away free on the open internet for years, and then quietly turned itself into one of the most successful subscription businesses in all of media. That's the New York Times. And the money was never really in the news.